We have assembled here today representing a vital section of the economy, those who are engaged in construction and development, a sector which has been very badly affected by the crisis in Sri Lanka. What we forget is that unfortunately we had to face not one crisis but two. We were affected by COVID. In turn, thereafter, we were affected by the breakdown of the economy. Both are connected. I don't think you can separate it, but it's one connected event. COVID and other fiscal measures we took prior to COVID by reducing our taxes, which went against the agreement with the IMF, the undertaking that had been given to the IMF in maintaining our revenue. It's a matter that no one really noticed. Few of us did. I remember in our UNP manifesto, we identified the major problem of Sri Lanka as needing $3 billion for the economic crash. Well, no one accepted it. They asked, why do you put that? Everyone else was promising to deliver more, to give more. But the signs were there. So while we went into this headlong crisis, remember it was aggravated by a larger crisis, the global COVID crisis, and how the global economy came down. In 2020 and 2021, we closed down. Every country closed down. It's only now that the world is getting back. It hasn't fully recovered from the COVID crisis. We are talking here of what happened in Sri Lanka. Look at what's happening in China. With COVID, their total real estate development came down. That's very much larger. And that in turn has affected the Chinese consumer spending. Even in USA, the consumer spending goes up and down. It's only now that it's coming on in Europe. So we are functioning in this background. That at a time when we should have been secure, we should have been taking steps to ensure we didn't get involved in the crisis, or for that matter, the damage was minimized. We went and maximized what was to happen. So I am not surprised that in 2022, there were no takers for the job. It went to the extent that some of my colleagues on the other side said, this issue can't be resolved even. No one wanted this job. Today there are 38 others with me who wanting it. I wish one of them had turned up at that time. So this is the world we are in. This is the country we live in. But when I took over, I had the confidence we can turn this around. I was in touch with the IMF. I had told President Gotabaya Rajapaksa, having handled it before, it was a question of putting the basics together. I think Professor Srimal Abhiratna has explained what had to be done. So now we have, as he said, stabilized the macroeconomy and stabilized the debt. We are in a position where we can service our debt. Or remember, at the same time, we have undertaken not to print money, not to borrow from the banks. So those sources were cut off to us. We had to find our own revenue. As a result, many of you here, including myself, are paying taxes on our government salary. Others are paying a high rate of tax. But that is the revenue. That is what has helped to stabilize the economy. So how do we emerge from here? How do you get the economy moving? That's the next question. How can you do it? I think we'll leave those questions to be answered in the panel. You will have many questions to ask from us. But we have committed ourselves. We have committed ourselves, and now that we have stabilized our economy, we have been given time. I think we went on the basis of 5 years, starting from the time of the 2022 to come back to normalcy, but I am hoping that we can do it before that, by 2026 the latest. I am confident of it. We have committed ourselves to a 5% annual growth by 2027 and plus after that. So this is in the law. For the first time, the economic policy of this government has been put into law in the sense of what revenue is to be done. This is a part of that law, the Economic Transformation Act. But there are other laws also. There is the Central Bank Act, which has given independence to the central bank. but the objectives are placed in the Act. We have Public Debt Management Act, the Public Finance Management Act, laws we have passed earlier. They together form what we call the major laws underlying the stabilization of the economy. Next is how do we go forward? And in that, there are a role for the construction and development sector. There is a role. What did we do? We all got affected by this crisis. We had a fairly large construction sector, all depending on foreign funded projects and a few large investments. And then it all closed down. So what have we done? We've kept the banks to ensure that they don't really go and close in on you. And secondly, we've used the opportunity to ensure that backlog of payments have been cleared. A lot of it has been cleared, there are some more to be cleared. But I think unlike earlier times, we thought we'll look at how we can reduce the burden on you. And next comes, what do you do as we open out? There's a lot of scope for us. That's what I thought I would talk to you about. Look at our developments. Once we get the aid back, as the disbursements come in, we revive the existing projects. A large number of them are construction projects. We revive all those projects. Secondly, as foreign investment comes and local investment comes in, there will be more construction. We are looking at about a fair amount of land in Galle for high-rise hotel buildings. Similarly, we are looking at construction of hotels in Kandy, more in Colombo, and later on in Trincomalee. So the construction, the tourism sector itself, the new zones that we are keep putting up at Bingiria, to begin with, in Jaffna, we hope to do in Hambantota. So there are a large number of projects where there is a component of construction involved. But unlike last time, a fair amount of it will also come from the private sector. Outside that is to rebuild the cities, whole of Colombo and the megapolis plan, which is there, the development of Galle, of Kandy, we will be rebuilding the cities. That's another opportunity. There are a lot of land here, underutilized, belong to the government. We'll open it out for people to build on. It's for you to find the investor and come in. The land we will find, the rest you find. And we make it possible. But there are also your concerns, which I think we have to address. Some of you are wondering, what will happen to my job in the state sector? I don't think anyone has to worry about their jobs, whether they are in the state sector or the private sector. There will be enough work for all of you. And certainly your concerns of payee is being addressed. These are some issues that concern you all. But we must also look at how this ties up with the country's economy and your sector.
සංගීතලොවේ අමරණීය හඬ අමරසිරි පීරිස් යුග ගණනාවක් හදවත් ප්‍රේමයෙන් මුසපත් කළ විරාජිනිය නිරෝෂා විරාජිනී සංගීතයේ නව්‍ය හැඩය අමිල දිල්හාන් සමග තම්බපන්නේ සංවර්ධන පදනම වෙතින් සාඩම්බරයෙන් ඉදිරිපත් කරන Golden Legends 2024 සංගීතවේදී අචන්ත රාජකරුණාගේ සංගීත මුසුව සමගින් අගෝස්තු 30 සිකුරාදා සවස 6:30ට හලාබත සුදසුන ශාලාවේදී ජීවිතේ එක් වරක් පමණක් පිදෙන තම්බපන්නේ රන් සම්මානය මේරියන්ස් සංගීත කණ්ඩායම් නායක නලින් පෙරේරා වෙත පිදෙන එම සුන්දර රාත්‍රී රස විඳින්නට ඔබත් එන්න ප්‍රවිෂපත්‍ර වැඩි විස්තර සඳහා අමතන්න ගිහාන් 077යි 26යි 384 චන්දිමාල් 074යි 343යි 17යි 69
අනේලෙන් ගතුදයි කෙතරම්
ගොලිවෝ විට කලවි සත්තයි